Hello and welcome to our Coaches Cast. Today I've got my really good friend Eric Droddy, a guy that I had the pleasure of knowing as a student myself, and then also a co-worker, a boss, a co-equal, kind of all the above. Uh, Eric, how you doing, man?
Doing good. We just got the all call a few minutes ago of you guys may leave now. So
That's
that's always a good a good sound to hear.
no doubt. Teachers everywhere are celebrating. So graduation's coming around, summer's coming around. Uh, which for the coaches, like that's just another day. It's just another Tuesday or another Friday, right? Because we got SAT camp and SSI and strength conditioning going all summer. And so you're a guy that's obviously been around a lot of like smaller schools, smaller communities, areas. You've done the big school grind, but I'd say your career has been kind of capped off by being one of those guys that can take a Trinity or a Queen City to the football playoffs. So not many people can do that, in my opinion.
Well,
And so
yeah,
I
it's
appreciate
tough.
you jumping on and let's talk a little program building because I think you do a really good job, even if you don't always give yourself enough credit for it. But uh, summer, what's summer look like for you right now as an AD head football coach at a 2A, 3A school these days?
Well, I'd tell you that's kind of evolved a little bit, even for me personally, and in the sense that it used to be like we might take the first week and get away or whatever, and then after that we're jumping right back into it. And a lot of schools still do that. If they're out today, a lot of schools will just pick right back up on Monday and start with the strength camp stuff. But I've kind of pushed it back a little bit. We won't start with the boys until June 8th. So we'll have, almost a good 3 weeks before we get back into it. Now I'll be here on a 12-month, and I've told the kids if they want to come in, I'll have the weight room open for them, and then there'll be some that come. But as far as the organized portion of it, where the coaches are here and we're kind of getting after it without any other distractions, we're going to start that June 8th. Um, I've always, we go 3 weeks, take a week off, and go with another three, and then give the last week off to coaches work week and that kind of business before we start fall camp. So it sounds like 2 months of summer, but it goes by really quick and it's not really very much.
Right. In reality, for us, it's 2 weeks of summer, right? Like, I
Hmm.
think pushing it to June 8th, especially you guys, like y'all are done now. So some schools are still
Yeah.
going into next week. Some schools end Memorial Day weekend. Um, no, I think it's smart just because like the the term burnout, right? Teacher burnout, coach burnout, like it's become
Mhm.
pretty popular of a term
Yeah, it has.
recently.
Yeah, yeah, it
Uh,
has.
and I kinda get it, like, there's been a couple years where, especially in the smaller school realm, where you're coaching 3 sports and you're
No doubt.
teaching 4 preps, and you're at 2 campuses, and it's an absolute grind, and it's a week-long grind, it's a month-long grind, and then all of a sudden you blink, it's May, you're going right back into it next week, and one time put me down for the count for some surgery time. So,
It happens.
uh,
Yeah.
it is a grind. And I think, there's some burnout that does happen and giving guys, giving kids, giving coaches time to, go reset. Hey, take a vacation up to Branson, Missouri, right? Like get out of here, go be with your family, go do stuff. And we'll be back in a couple weeks. Like I think it's smart because man, it's rolling right into it it will wear you out, so I think it's a smart move, and so, like, with open weight room, like, is it pretty much just kinda, like, gonna be from your mindset, like,
Mhm.
envisioning it just like, whoever shows up, and, hey, it's open from 8 to 2, and, in that time, you're looking more in, like, inventory or, jerseys and shoulder pads getting ready for August, or is it kind of just like, some downtime on your end too?
Not really. You're the first part, is what it'll be. We've got I've got a basket full of shoes and a floor full of shoes. We've got laundry. I had everybody turn in everything and just go with a clean start when it does come back. So we'll be able to see what we have in there, what we need to order for the future. Um, and so I'll do a lot of inventory stuff. a lot of regrouping from the year. Did softball this year, so there was a lot of the time where I might have spent doing those things in the spring that you don't do when you're doing something else. And so it'll be a lot of catch up, which would be another good reason to have those kids out of here. So and and we'll have a workout. Coach Sheffield's our strength and conditioning guy, and he does a great job. And if you saw him, you'd be like, "Yep, that's your strength and conditioning guy." So he definitely fills the part well. Does a great job. So he'll put together something that we'll put up on the board for those kids that do come in. If they want something that we would want to give them, something they're used to, it'll be up there for them. If they just want to come in there and pound weights for 30 minutes, come on, get on in there. And we'll have a lot that work. And so, that's the other thing too is we will have the organized portion of it in the mornings. But again, I'll be up here, all summer. One or two of the other coaches that may be on 11-month contracts, they'll be up here most of the summer. And so there'll be people here to kind of monitor who comes and goes and be able to put workouts in for those kids that do work and they need to come in at 2 o'clock or they need to come in at 3, after we do the morning. So there's still opportunities. And it's just where there's a will, there's a way. So you kind of find out who's really wanting to put it in and they'll make the time for it.
And I assume you're still kind of working under the, operation of, like, 8 to 10, 10 to 12, like, come in, do
Yeah.
the strength and conditioning
Yeah. We're
portion, then
going.
go into, like, your sports specific.
Yes, yeah, we're going 9 to 11, which it never turns into 11, and all that
Sure.
has to do with the number of kids you have and how you're able to structure what the workout actually is. How, who was it? Tyson? Was it Tyson that said everybody's got a plan till they get punched in the mouth? Well, we come in every morning about 8:30, and we may get punched in the mouth at 9 o'clock when there's 5 kids here or there's 45 kids here. So we have a plan, but how's that plan gonna actually work? And I think to me, that's the cool thing. It's like you're always on your toes. It's like if you only have 20 kids here, well, that big master plan you have doesn't really work for that. And so you kinda come up with these ideas on your own real quick and things that you've learned in the past. Well, this will work well for a smaller setting and kinda keeps you off balance a little bit, but thinking the whole time too, and you don't really I get bored easy. I know you know that. And so I guess it's ADHD, I don't know. But I get bored easy and chase squirrels, so I need to be on my toes a lot.
Yeah, it's always a good time when you, like, walk to the weight room and you've been by yourself for, like, a good 24 hours, and then you walk in and there's a 30-station circuit set up. You like, Eric had some time on his hands, and he
Yeah.
wanted to get a circuit going.
Yeah, we did that a time or 2 here, and it was, like, "What? We're gonna do how many stations?" Yeah, it'll be fine. You'll get used to it. So
And it
those are
always
fun
turns
days.
into a good change up. Like, it's a good thing to
Man,
have in the toolbox and utilize when it makes sense, and,
yeah.
uh,
And
it's
it it
it it's wild.
yeah, it may not be the most sought after plan from your strength and conditioning people, but it's a fun time for it when you get after it.
For sure. And then, like, summer like, small schools, so, I'm guessing that you guys have a lot of kids that are, 2 sport, 3 sport kids, and
Mhm.
so, the difference between, like, in-season weightlifting and, off-season weightlifting and, like, program building, summer's, like, the one time where, like, all of your kids can try to get on the same track and, like, "Okay, we're gonna work, on our power, our explosiveness, our speed," like, we're gonna be able to combine all those things and really kinda get the whole group going in one direction. It's kind of your only time for that.
Yeah, def
And so, like, summer, like, looking back uh, on your career coaching wise, like, what have been some of the summer highlights? Like, what makes, like, a summer really good versus, like, looking back, like, that summer kinda didn't work out as well?
one of the biggest things to me is how many returning varsity kids you have on a consistent basis. I think the more you have coming on a consistent basis through the summer, it's obviously a good thing. Because and you kinda get a sense of how your team's gonna be that next year. And not to say that if you have a good group, if you think you have 25 varsity returners coming back or kids that you're projecting to be varsity kids, if you have 25 of those on in your mind and you've got 18 to 20 of them that come 18 out of 24 of your days, you can say, you know what, I feel pretty good about that. And that doesn't mean you're going to win 12 games, but you can at least felt like you weren't spinning your wheels through the summer and it was a waste of time. You get those times where, it's 5 kids here and 8 kids here, and then all of a sudden there's 35 kids, and you're like, you kinda you almost feel like, "Man, we just kinda wasted the summer doing that," and nobody wants that, but it all has to deal with, the kids and parents and how much they're wanting to make sure their kids are in there doing that thing, how bought into it they are. Because if the parents are bought into it, well, the kids generally don't have any choice. So that's always a good thing if you can get the parents on board with bringing them up too. So every I feel like every summer is different. I've heard Coach Keeling at Wascom the summer before going 4 or 5 rounds deep in the playoffs. I've heard him whine and complain about how low the attendance was, and they weren't going to be any good. And then all of a sudden, it's December 1st and those jokers are still playing, so, who knows?
Yeah. It helps when you have, some really good DNA mixed in there, but obviously you want that DNA showing up on a consistent basis.
You
I think they
prefer
were
it,
pretty
yeah.
talented that year.
Yeah. They still got some cats running around too. But it's just funny to hear those guys. I think coaches are the worst sandbaggers in the history of sandbagging because everybody I talk to is down and their kids and they won't show up for nothing and this, that. I'm like, guys, whatever. I'm tired of listening to y'all sob stories.
Because I know when we get out there on a Friday night, look like, "That kid didn't miss a day, that kid didn't miss a day,
Yeah.
that kid didn't miss a day. There's no way he missed a day, like, he's huge.
Yeah, for sure. Yeah, and
He's
and if
running
they
the
if they
4.3
if
in pads."
yeah, and if those kids are missing the days, you ain't keeping them from playing on Friday night, I promise you that. No, yeah, and
And
that's the other
it's
hard part.
statewide.
Yeah, and that's another thing hard part about it too is, like, you wanna encourage the kids to come, you wanna give them some incentive to be there and, T-shirts for showing up certain days and however many days and whatnot. If you want a spot in the varsity locker room, you gotta make sure you're here 20 out of 24 days. That's all well and good, but that kid that you know is gonna start at your tailback, if he ain't here 18 out of 24 days, he's still starting at tailback. I mean, unless you're in North Shore, or Allen or some of those guys, but those kids, they also know, like, if I'm wanting to play, I better freaking be there in those situations. So, you know, and I don't mean to take that cynically, but it's really the fact of the matter. I just need to make sure you're here on August 3rd, and we'll do our part to work you back into shape, and we'll do it the right way. And you know, you may have been working all summer. You might have been on the pipeline with a buddy. You know, I don't know, doing something crazy, but
Which we've
there's
had.
yeah, yeah, man. Yes, kids work all the time. Shoot, one year at Crockett, we had a starting outside linebacker that year that he was a phenomenal baseball player, and he was in some World Series something or other. The f- I mean, it was the first week of 2 days. And so, but he communicated that like, coach, your parents come in like Coach Thompson, like, listen, man, I've got this going. We're going to be out of state. We're going to be in Pennsylvania playing in this deal. And like, I really want to play football, but I'm going to miss the first week of practice. And I really need you here August 3rd, but I'll see you August 10th. So,
Right.
and we'll,
For
we'll,
sure.
we'll make it up some way or another, but you do what you got to do sometimes.
On just like another little tangent here, how many World Series occur on a yearly basis? Like between travel ball, little leagues, high
Is that,
school fall balls.
yeah, is that something we really want to get into?
Man, how many World Series take place on a yearly basis? Because there's a lot.
Yes. There are a
Uh,
lot. Mhm.
no, we won't go down that rabbit hole too far. We'll just dip our toes in it occasionally. So going into like you've also been in situations where you're going into a new school where you didn't have like a spring, right? I'm going into that basically right now. Like I'm transitioning
Yeah.
into a new school that I'm going to be at this fall. And you've been there before, and so like advice that you have for coaches that are going to a new school like how to get set up for summer or how to kind of establish a foundation for a program. We've been in some spots where uh, have had pretty bad histories, and then we try to
Mm,
take them into a better future, right?
yep.
And so, what's some advice that, you even wish you could give yourself 15 years ago, like when you're going to a new place, how you kind of lay that foundation for the program that you want to build?
Yeah, do a better job of getting out and going and finding them, because they may not necessarily come to you. And so you gotta get out there and kinda beat the bushes and just let them know, like, you're excited to see them. "Hey, sorry I got here late." It's just kinda the way the system works, but I'm here now. Let's get to know each other. Let's come up. Workouts are gonna be going here and such. But I really just wanna get to know you a little bit. If you start showing up, that's great. We're gonna start football practice August 3rd, regardless if you're here or not. But I'd love to see you and get to know you some. Just to start kinda working that relationship aspect of it a little bit more than worried so straight line, so strictly about, "Hey, Monday, we're starting our workouts. I need you here." Coach, man, I just met you." Like, so
Mm,
I just like getting to know them a little bit. The personal side of it, I think we lose sometimes. We're so focused on, "Oh gosh, I'm late, I'm behind." That stuff's, the business part of it, the job related part of it, that stuff's gonna be there, and you're gonna be able to take care of that. It's those relationships, and I kinda got a little bit of it when I first got here last year. Things were just, like, going, man, and there's, maybe I could have taken a little more time in some other areas and not felt behind, but I was just like, I just wanna get out and get to know, and the other stuff's gonna come, you know, the schemes, the people you're gonna hire and that kind of business, but I wanna get to know the kids and get to know the parents.
sure. Yeah. I I mean, like you said earlier, if you get the parents kind of convinced, if you can get them bought into what you're trying to build, then a lot of times the kids don't have a choice, right? So
For
they're
sure.
gonna bring their kids in because they want their kids to be surrounded by good mentors and good coaches. And
Yes.
so if you can show that, hey, I'm trying to be that here, then a lot of
Yeah.
times that, trust takes a while to really build
Uh,
sometimes, but
it does, for
getting
sure it
off on the
does.
right foot never hurt.
Yeah. I mean, there's not many people that meet their future wife on Monday and they get married on Tuesday and they make it for 35, 40 years. And have this great have this great marriage relationship. That doesn't happen very often. Relationships take time, and it may take a year, and and I think and you might find yourself asking this question with guys that are returning. That I know there's different philosophies about like returning seniors, and I'm trying to build a program. I build with the younger kids, and that there's a lot of truth to that, of course. But man, like we wouldn't have had what we would I don't know that we were as close to getting in as what one game, 4 points, and we make the playoffs this year. We don't do that without the group of seniors that we had. And one of them came back to play. Like he hadn't been playing and the other coaches have been talking him up and then he decided to come out and give him another chance and that kid started every snap of the football for a while on both sides until we could find somebody to replace him offensively. And I mean, if it's not for those guys, well, what we don't I don't think we do the little good that we did this year without hanging on to the seniors that we have. So I think that's important too to you don't want to alienate your senior group, I don't think.
Yeah, I mean, we also kinda ran into that situation, like, back in 19 at Queen City,
Mm.
right, where we had, a group of seniors that had been just kind of, man, just beat down for a while, and so, uh, you know, getting the sophomores and juniors that we had kind of bought into what we were trying to sell, and, like, the middle school kids bought into what we were trying to sell, like, they bought in, but really because of, you know, at the end of the day, like, that senior group picked up the flag and said, "We're probably not gonna be very good this year, but we're gonna we're gonna go into war with you too." Like,
Yeah. We're gonna
y
stay the course and help you out however much we can. Yep.
if we didn't have those guys in 19 do what they did and, like, give it one more try and try to be leaders. Not all of them were great leaders by any means, but the ones that were trying to be leaders and trying to step up, like, you know, even with COVID the next year in 2020, like,
Mm.
we don't have some of the success we had in 2020 without, I feel like, some of those seniors from 19. So,
I
and
agree.
like they were, go ahead.
No.
I would just like, in terms of like even the weight room, like from the weight room culture, from like the way we were running practices. I mean, there was one time where our senior quarterback who hadn't played a snap of defense, like our free safety got hurt, was limping off to the sidelines, and Dylan just runs past me with his helmet
Yeah,
on, playing cover
yeah.
three free safety. Like, I'll go play. Like, it's like, oh,
Yeah,
okay. Those are the things that, like, without those little moments, like,
yep,
we needed that to kind of spark some of the sophomores and juniors to really kind of get off the mat and start fighting.
yep. And they did, and I think, it took a little while. It took about, it was a year longer than what I was hoping, but it was, that we got back in 23, and I think it had a lot to do with those things. It just took a while to get the right group, get the right people, and kind of push it to that point. We had some good sophomores, and they played a lot, and, like talking about Kieran and his groups, that their senior year, I was really hoping, I know you were too, but, really hoping that's the year those kids got in, and then it was, and I guess it was actually 2 years after they graduated. Tamir and
Yeah,
Kieran, those
because
guys, I
I
think
had
it ended
them
up being
their
2 years.
senior year, and that's when I was
Mhm.
gone the following year. But yeah, we missed
Yep.
it by one game in 20 and in 21, and
Yeah,
the
but
one
yeah,
in
both
21.
both years, we're one district game away from getting in, and so, I think, you look at the history of a place, and you look at what you're working with, and, you know, can you look back and say, that was successful, y you know, uh, and, not as successful as any of us ever want to be, of course, but, were we doing some good things? Yeah, and it had a lot to do with, I feel like it had more to do with the relationships than anything else.
Yeah, I would agree with that.
Yeah.
And I think a big builder of those relationships, one of the things that we got to do a few times were like those little team retreats, right?
Yeah.
Like there was the one time we went out to golly, that like mud course, rope course thing
Yeah,
in
yeah.
New Diana
It's right
area.
out here. Thomas
Okay.
Falls, right outside of New
Yeah,
Diana.
yeah, that's what it was. Yeah.
Mhm.
Um,
Yep.
and their big water slide, and like, you know, a bunch of kids that probably were just excited to not be at football practice that day at the
No, I
for
mean,
for the most part. But then
yeah,
we also threw them in 3 feet of mud and said, "Run a mile and a half and do all this stuff, and
sure.
then, uh, jump over these logs," and it was also pretty challenging in some ways, and so doing things like that, like, getting the locker room bought into each other too, like, those
Mhm.
kids need to be around each other as much as humanly possible so that, you know, they're bought in not only for relationship wise with your coaches, but like at the end of the day, I think we tried to build a locker room where it's almost self-policing in a lot of ways, right? Like
You would like to.
that's the goal, like where
Mhm.
they kind of know like, hey, this is acceptable, this is not acceptable, and right now you're not being acceptable.
Yeah.
Um, and put some ownership in those guys. And so, um, whether it's football practice or weight room or retreats, like, what's some things that have kind of molded that mindset for you over the years?
Well, I I like to think I like to have a good time when we're working, and, I know that there's points where, like, you might have a group, and again, every group is different. You might have a group of kids where you can do that right off the bat. Man, they buy into it, and they're pumping it, and they're really getting after it, and everybody's having a great time, and you're making gains, and things are straight. You might have that group where everything's gotta be command. Everything's gotta be just straight regimented. Everything's gotta be on paper, and then you have to grow to that point. And then and so you gotta be able to feel that out too. But I like to have a good time. I like to have music in the weight room. I know there's times it can be distracting, and I think you just gotta have some discernment on when that is. Those things, I like to have fun. I like to make it upbeat. Kids like that. I'm not as big a graphics social media guy as you were and are, and I think that was a great combination because you were able to do that stuff, and I think those things are important. And I wish I was better at it. I wish I'd like to always have somebody like that that man, they took that and they ran with it. That was their niche, and because kids like that too, and parents, man, more and more. Like there's times you don't get something out as and it's like, wait, where's this at? Where's it at? Like, oh, hold on, give me a chance. Like I need to get our softball stuff put out there, and so I need to work on that today and get those awards. One of the teams in our district played 4 weeks extra, and so we haven't been able. And they just finished last week. It's time for me to get those awards out. Kids, parents, they want to see that stuff. So, it's a different mix. I mean, 1990. I mean, social media. It was the newspaper that came out in Trinity once a week. That was social media, and so and that was it. And you didn't know what happened last week until it came out on Wednesday, the next week. So those times have changed quite a bit, and there's good and bad to it. I think
Sure.
sometimes I think sometimes you get caught up a little bit too much into that, and so there's again, discerning where the middle ground is to make sure that you're not taking away from the team aspect of the team results and what the final outcome is, as opposed to just I like to celebrate successes, whether big or small, and sometimes I don't do that enough, but it might be, well, you know, I really want us to win, and we didn't win. So does it really matter that Johnny had 38 tackles? Like, it does. It really does matter. But sometimes you get caught up in the other.
Yeah, for sure. I think we all fall victim to sometimes what the scoreboard says, good and bad. I know I do. There's been moments where I'm like, at the moment, like the game's over, and I'm just like, man, that sucks. And then you get back and you watch it or you run the stats, and you're like, oh wow, okay, we had a really good chance. Like we played a really good football game. We just didn't score more points than they did. Or
Yeah.
some variety of that, right? And it's like, man, this was the best game we've played in the first 6 weeks. Like, okay, that's a reason to celebrate. You have improved, and like that's a small victory. Yeah, it didn't count on the scoreboard because you lost by 3, and that stinks. It's a kick in your knee, but like there are things you can celebrate throughout the season, and sometimes when you're having those rough years, because it's very rare where you don't have rough years, and being able to find things to celebrate is important because you don't wanna lose your kids, you don't wanna lose your roster, you don't wanna lose the parents, and so finding things to celebrate, even when times seem dark is pretty important. Um, which kinda go into the season a little bit, like, we haven't really talked, like, ball much, but, like, going to the season, between weight room and summer and boot camp, you mentioned, like, the structured regiment style. I wanna talk on boot camp just a second. But going to the season, like, when do you feel like you have an idea of what team you have for that fall? Like, is it something that you start kind of, like, really seeing in June? Is it something you see August 4th? Is it something that you don't find out sometimes till September 1st? Like, where's kinda
The
like
the
that timeline for you?
the answer to that is yes. And so,
Yeah.
it's all the above, and it kinda goes it goes you could have a great summer, you could have kids here all summer, you could have your starters here all summer, and then you get out and you start playing that schedule, and it all goes to pot. You're like, "What the crap happened?" And I wasn't expecting that. And you could have a summer like Keeling was talking about where your kids didn't show up, and next thing you know, you're playing December 1st. And I don't know when you know that, so I think it's different at different points of time. And so I know for us when we got here, um, really that time was we we had a tough non-district schedule, and, we made some changes of what we were trying to do early on, offensively. The good thing was Coach Hammock and most of the defensive guys had been here, and he didn't really he does a Coach Hammock does a great job, and so they were consistent what they were doing, so that kinda led the way and kinda kept us stable, and we were able to make that switch, and it worked. So it wasn't until a couple weeks in to the actual season where we said, "Okay, we've got a chance," and I think we're on the right track. There's times you might know it in June. Man, we're gonna have a really we're loaded. We know we're gonna be good, and you get out there and you're good. And so I'll say from our perspective this year, we have a lot of questions because we graduated a lot on the defensive side that really carried us. The good thing is, I'm hopeful. The good thing is, offensively, it's kind of flipping. Like we've got a core group of offensive guys that are returning that are going to lead the charge, while maybe defense is taking some time to figure things out. And then while we do have we have a solid non-district schedule, um, we don't have you know ARP and Troop who played each other in the third or fourth round, to get to go play Newton, and they've got double the kids on the sideline that we have, and it's just you look over there and you're like, "Oh my gosh." And so, Overton and Carlisle are gonna create their own problems, and the Carlisle scrimmage last year was kinda the one where we, like, offensively, like, man, we gotta redirect. Those kids just came and just monkey stopped, hey, freaking they get after us. And so we're playing them. That's a week 2 game. And I'm fine with that because, like, I know what Coach Baker over there, like, they're gonna have those kids rolling, so and our kids understand that too. So I just the mentality of it right now is a little bit different. I don't they know they're good, and they know, like, we're gonna have to come with it. But they also know that there's a chance, and that's a good feeling to have without having a summer workout at all. Getting them back together, like, we got a chance to make a little noise even with the new district. Excuse me.
Yeah, and from, like, a schematic standpoint, like, if you're been there for a long time, you kinda like, "Okay, these are the things that we're trying to do," and then you make those slight modifications based off, who you have. You don't wanna put the round circle in the triangle hole, for example, but, um, like, for you, like, coming into the school, like, coming into Harleton, you kinda had a vision for kind of being the old Ramey Fun and Gun, right? And then you transitioned back into some split back veer and, like, a full kinda paradigm shift. Um, I think back to our 3 years, like, at Queen City just 'cause it's easy, it's our most recent time together, but, like, we went from being a very 10 personnel, like, kinda super spread,
Mhm.
um, in year 1 because that's the pieces we had. We didn't have a tight end in the program. We barely had 5 linemen.
Yep.
And then year 2, we kind of took a small scrawny kid and turned him into a sniffer H-back and almost in a decoy way, but, like,
Yeah.
made it work. And then in year 3, like, we started getting into some 12 personnel, some shifts and motions, um, and some downfield RPOs, and the schemes didn't necessarily change, but, like, how we got to it changed a lot.
Yep. Yep.
Um, and those are things that, like, I'm always trying to find out in June and July before we get to August, like, okay, what's the personnel look like from an athletic standpoint? And then can they run those concepts? And man, going from like the RPO, the downfield RPO stuff that we were doing for a while into split back, like talk me through that transition a little bit. Like what'd that look like? Because I've never had a quite that shift.
Yeah, it was I guess even though they had been traditionally under center, it was more wing T concept, which, is a lot different. Um, and, I think some people get lost in that sometimes. Wing T is different than slot T. Slot T is different than flex bone. Um, and then going split back is kind of different than all of it. We wanted to because of some things that some of the coaches had told us. We thought there was a guy or two that we were going to be able to do some of the 11 personnel powered gun RPO type of stuff. Um, and we dabbled with that the first couple of weeks, and it was really that Carlisle scrimmage that East and I were like, like let's get back into what these guys know. And I think, and it wasn't a pride thing because I'm not a real prideful person anyway. I don't think. Um, it was easy to go, because I try, I tease with you at times. You like you a time or two you had to be gone for something, and then you come back and I line us up in the flex bone. You're like, what the heck? What are we doing? Oh, I'm just kidding. I'm just kidding. Um, but anyhow, it's so that part for me and Easton offensively, it was easier. It was easy for us to make that switch and go back under. Although we wanted to do the other stuff, and I think in some scenarios, I think it was easier for them too, for the kids, because it was still a downhill oriented, getting in you kind of style of what they were used to. And so then it was, we just told them, hey guys, like, be patient. We know what you can do. We've played you guys. We know what y'all are good at, and that's coming downhill, smash mouth, and getting in your grill. Let's try this for a minute and just see. And then we'll be smart enough to know when to stop. And that was week 2 scrimmage.
Week 2 scrimmage. Yep.
Week 2 scrimmage, we stopped and got out. So,
Yeah, I think it's one of those things, like, if you had a spring and a full summer to devote to teaching it, like, maybe, but, like, coming in kinda late to the ball game and going from, like I said, wing tee into deuce and tray and trying to run power RPO, like, it's it's different, and, yeah, it's one of those things that I'm gonna always tease you, like, "Hey, don't forget about, running 44 ugly with a rifle tag on there," like, it's good
uh-huh.
stuff. But you
Yes,
gotta have the personnel to kinda run it, so
and
uh,
you've gotta have some of those things kinda already in there a little bit. And I think that was one
yeah,
of the things, the progression, and how you kinda manipulated from year to year, and changed and tweaks. I think those are important too, 'cause, um, you know, it's you always use the example of, the training wheels on, and then when can I take them off? And, "Okay, I took them off. Well, that didn't go so well. We still ran into the tree. So let's put them back on again, and let's narrow this back down." So I always felt that was, and so we're kinda in that now. The great thing about it moving into next year is, while we haven't done anything in the spring because baseball was going, track was going, and, you just don't ever have them together, and most likely over the summer, we're not going to either, so August 3rd, we're gonna be jumping back into it. The good thing is, August 3rd, when we jump back into it, we're gonna be jumping right back into split back under center veer and stack defense, which they've been doing. So we should be a little bit ahead of the game because all the kids at every level have done both of those things. And of course, it's like algebra. If you don't do it all the time, you're going to forget it. Um, so there'll be a little bit of a learning curve for the first 4, 5, 6 days, but I think they'll pick up pretty quick. And then it's like, okay, can we add this? Can we jump back in the gun and put Drake at quarterback and run the same concepts? And then, do we have 2 guys out there that maybe we can run slant bubble with, and do his own RPO, and just kinda maybe not install it all at once really fast and say, "This is the new system," but just chunks here and there, little bits and pieces, and I think that'd be exciting too, and it'd be something new, one thing each week, and so I think the kids can handle that.
add the wrinkle kind of as it makes sense
Mhm.
for a game plan and kinda build it
Yep.
in. No, I love it. I'm going into a place that's been 6-man for the last 2 years, and they're going back to 11-man.
Yeah.
So, uh, this will be I have no idea. Like, it'll
Yeah,
be, I
yeah.
think, kind of a clean slate, and it'll be something that I'll probably learn a week 2 scrimmage and be like, "Man, we shouldn't have done that. Like, we
Yeah.
really need to just do this."
But, you'll
But
you'll be able to find some schools out there that have done that, and pick
it's
their
true.
brain on it. And I can't remember who it is, but there was a team that was deep in the playoffs, maybe the state championship game in football this year, where I think it was 6-man, where they had actually played a couple of 11-man games in the season to get games. I think if I remember that right. You know, because I mean, you look over on the sideline, they got 30 kids on the sideline, and they're playing 6 man. It's like, "What are you doing?"
Yeah, no
But,
kidding.
you know, it's like every boy in the school is playing, and so but, you know, but they understand what they are, and they're a six-man team. But I remember hearing that. There was so, that would I'd be interested in, man, how did y'all do that?
Yeah, no
That's kinda
kidding.
wild.
That'd
So,
be
I I'm I'm interested and excited for you to see that transition, because that's gonna be something new on your plate.
I'll be sure to document it for you and let you know what's
Yeah,
going
bet.
on. My last little thing real quick before we call it, we've been going for about 40 minutes here, which is good, but, I wanna just circle back to boot camp real quick because like,
Mhm.
we've done it, we kinda mentioned, like, having the sometimes you need, like, that structured, regimented, written down plan, and, like, we're doing this. Um, and, some years boot camp is awesome, and some years boot camp kinda
Dude.
is just okay. Uh
Mhm.
we've done a lot of different varieties. You've done probably even more varieties than I've even thought of doing. So like, talk me through like, you know, boot camp stuff or the rigid style weight room, the on command on the whistle, and we'll kind of circle into what we did together or whatever.
Yep.
But just talk through boot camp for me real quick.
So, you know, I've obviously the point of it is the structure and the discipline, if you will, and trying to train young people on how to react appropriately with basically inappropriate stimulus. You know, and be able to remember and recall information um, under stressful situations. And so you can come up with all kinds of ways and no, it's not life and death. It's totally different than, you know, when people hear boot camp, they're going to equate it to military and whatnot. And that, of course, that's where it comes from. But the goal is a little bit different. And I think you have to address that. Like, guys, like, I understand we're not fighting wars out here, but you're going, I mean, it's a battle out there on the field every time. And no matter what sport you play, if you can react appropriately in these situations, in this situation, you'll be able to do it out there when it gets real, and it'll be easy, and you won't even think about it at that point. And so just finding just finding the 2 or 3 areas that you really wanna hone in on, and then being consistent with those in the 3 weeks or 4 weeks, if that's how far you go, into boot camp, and the couple times that we've dabbled in it, it's mostly centered around free weights and the command structure. And then, you know, of course, there's all kinds of other stuff that you can get into it, and we implemented at some point some mat drill to it. But I think the key to it is those terms that you use for whatever the start and the finish and the transitions. I think the key to it to make it worthwhile is that you implement those even when you get out of boot camp and you start your 3 cores and your 4 stations, like you still those transition times, the getting down there and getting out of there, you keep those and whatever consequences you had or your motivational times, you keep those throughout the rest of the workout phases that you're gonna have. Or otherwise, you're just doing boot camp to do it and say you did boot camp. And because if you don't, if again, if it's talking Spanish or, you know, trying to learn algebra, if you don't build on those blocks and keep the first blocks consistent through, you're gonna lose it, and then you're just gonna have too much of nothing. And so I think that's a danger too. And I don't know if that answers the question at all, but it's kind of a start point for what boot camp to me is and should be.
No, I think it's good. And then like if you were designing a calendar, right? Like, forget every sport. Like, let's just take the
Mhm.
school year calendar, not even like considering football, not considering any sport. Do you think doing boot camp kind of in the middle, early, late? Like, where do you think it's like at its best?
So now we've done it at different times and looking at it, if I had my choice, it would be we would start it when we got back from Christmas break, and we'd do it for that 3 weeks that we got back right into the time that baseball track the end of January when baseball and track kinda get going and those kids start to disperse a little bit. And I know basketball's in the middle of their thing, and you can work around that, and that's when we did it here this last time, and we worked around it. You know, those game days, they were still going to do their basketball thing, but the other days, shoot, I mean, it was just conditioning for them anyway, to be honest, and it was nothing heavy, and we weren't have to worry about trying to max out on something, and so I feel like that time back, if I was really to branch out with it, that time I would have it planned and ready to go for that time that when we got the first day back from Christmas break, we would start it, and we'd go for about 3 to 4 weeks after that.
Yeah, no, I think that's probably perfect, honestly. 'Cause like you're saying, like, a lot of it's free weight, a lot of it's explosive movement, which in season for basketball, like, that's kinda ideal, I would say.
You
Um,
would think, yeah.
you would think. And like I said, Tuesday, Fridays, you guys get out here, go to your game plan stuff, go do your, travel bags, whatever you're doing, but, um, no, I think that's probably when you have everyone together the most, honestly,
Mhm.
because if you do it like, you could make an argument, I feel like, to do it at the very beginning of the year, like, going into during football camp. Like, during fall camp, you can make an argument for it, but then you every kid that's not in football that also needs that probably doesn't get it. Um, and a lot of times, like, they need it. Like, they also need that stuff. Um, and if you wait too long in the year, then all your seniors get out of it anyway because they've lost their golden carrot on the stick and they're gone. But like getting those guys before baseball, before track, um, before tennis, like whatever it kind of looks like. Um, because you also like I feel like when we've had our seniors involved in boot camp, it was
Mhm.
better boot camps than when they weren't involved.
Yeah, I
And
y
mostly
yes.
because like I just think A, it adds more people, it adds more excitement, but I feel
Yeah.
like it those guys that have gone through it and especially like in year 2 and year 3, those seniors that are teaching the freshmen how to do it to
Mhm.
get like, "Hey, this is how you get through this." Like, that's kind of what leadership is in a lot of ways. So,
That
uh,
that's exactly what it is. Yeah. This is how we want to do this here. This is how I was expected to do it here, and so now I like, this is how you're gonna be expected to do it here, and if you don't meet that expectation, I'm gonna it's my responsibility to let you know this is how we do it. You're not doing it that way. And I think that style of leadership nowadays is I want to say a little bit more prevalent. You hear it in clinic speak a lot more now. Like this is the way we do things. And used to it might be more of a browbeat, like you got to get your crap together, this kind of the other. But now it's more of a like this is the way we do it. And if you want to be a part, like this is how you're gonna do it.
right.
It's
I think of like
I like having the seniors in there too.
I think of guys like Quayon, like Ellison was a boot
Yeah,
camp freak, like he was great at it. He was phenomenal at
yeah.
it. And mostly a quiet guy, but like I called him the assassin because he was just kind of sneaky and stealthy, but like he was just so good at everything really. But when he would like get onto a sophomore during boot camp, I was like, that's why you're in here because
Yep,
he needed to hear you say that to him.
that's exactly
Um,
right.
and so those guys I think are vital when you can find them. But uh, and we've been going for a while. I appreciate you jumping on this and doing this and talking program stuff and small school, big school, and uh, kind of running the gambit there. You know, what's your final take real quick? Why should coaches not be scared of working in small schools? Go.
Oh, man, 'cause I feel like you learn so much more, so much faster, and you really get the full gamut of what high school athletics is. I think a lot of times when you get to the big school and you might just be a football coach, I think you lose a lot of experiences that really like, that there I could list out of a top 10, I could list 5 things outside of football that I would put in my top 10 just because I've had the opportunity to coach, lots of other things and lots of other kids, girls, boys, junior high, high school. So I really I've always liked the small school environment. I think, you can build relationships anywhere, but I think they're just different. I think there's just a different relationship building in a small school atmosphere that I really cherish. And when I retire one day, I will cherish the small school atmosphere the most. It's more like me. So
There you go. You heard it here first. And I can definitely vouch for that because my years in 6A ball versus 3A ball, I like my 3A ball way more. So, uh, that'll do it for us. I appreciate anyone who's still hanging in here listening. Eric, any final things before you head out?
no, good luck to you there in your new gig, man. I'm excited for you, and I'll be watching from afar.
I'll do my best.